Have you ever felt trapped? Like you're running on a program you didn't even write? We're all looking for that key, that code to unlock a better way of being. Well, today we're looking at two master keys. One says our whole reality is just an illusion. The other, it says your trauma is just outdated software. Let's dive in.
So let's start with this really wild idea from Deepak Chopra. He basically says that everything you think is real, your body, your problems, the entire world, it's all a collective dream, a hallucination. From his point of view, what we call reality is just a projection, a story our consciousness is telling itself.
I mean, that's a pretty mind-bending thought, right? But hang on a second. What if the cage we feel isn't some grand cosmic illusion? What if the problem is a lot closer to home? What if it's in the software that's running on our own internal hardware?
And that, right there, brings us to our second guide. Kahim Black, who goes by B. Jesus, has a totally different diagnosis. He says, look, the problem isn't reality, it's your programming. He calls untreated trauma outdated software that gets your brain stuck permanently in survival mode.
So, we've got these two guides for our journey to self-mastery, and they're coming from completely different worlds, each holding a really unique map for how to navigate our inner landscape.
On one side, you've got Deepak Chopra. He's this global icon who made Eastern wisdom accessible to the West. And on the other, you have Kahim B. Jesus Black, a trauma decoder whose entire philosophy was forged in the streets, empowering young people from the ground up.
And the contrast between them is just stark. I mean, look at the language. Chopra is the poet-prophet, talking about quantum fields and cosmic consciousness. His whole approach is vast, expansive. B. Jesus? He's the trauma decoder. His philosophy was born from tragedy, so his approach is direct, it's technical, and it's all about what you can do right now.
So, before we can even think about breaking out, we have to understand the cage itself. Both of these guys have a diagnosis for why so many of us feel stuck, and, no surprise, they use very different language to describe it.
For Chopra, the problem is what he calls the conditioned mind. He describes it as a kind of socially induced hypnosis. It's this trance we're all in that makes us believe we are separate, isolated individuals. And he argues that this illusion, this feeling of being separate, is the real root of all our suffering.
Now, B. Jesus calls this cage survival mode. And listen, this isn't philosophy. This is pure physiology. He's saying that trauma literally hijacks your nervous system, locking it into a permanent state of fight or flight. You can never really truly rest because your brain is convinced that danger is right around the corner.
And the physical cost of that? Oh, it is real. Survival mode isn't just a feeling you have. It messes up your hormones, your dopamine and cortisol. It can actually damage the part of your brain responsible for growth. It hammers your